Have you ever just wished the entire world would hit pause? Seriously, imagine the ultimate fantasy right now. You're walking through your ridiculously busy, noisy city, and suddenly, bam! In the blink of an eye, everything just stops. A bird is literally frozen in the middle of the sky. A football hangs perfectly suspended right in midair. Cars halt instantly on the street, and people, they're frozen exactly where they are, mid-step, mid-sentence. Even the falling raindrops are just hanging around you like these tiny floating diamonds. Everything, and I mean everything, has completely stopped moving. Well, except for you.
So it begs the question, right? What if you actually could freeze time? Now, at first glance, you're probably thinking you just unlocked the greatest superpower ever conceived. Honestly, who wouldn't? But as we're going to see in this explainer, you might actually be standing at the starting line of the most terrifying experience imaginable. So is it a total dream come true or an absolute nightmare? Let's break down the reality of a frozen world.
Okay, so at first, the experience would feel absolutely incredible. I mean, homework, school, traffic, responsibilities, they all instantly vanish. Poof, gone. You're left with this complete silence and total, absolute freedom. The whole world suddenly belongs to you and you alone. You could just walk freely right down the middle of a massive 8-lane highway without a single moving car to worry about. You could stroll into empty shopping malls, visit those usually packed museums with zero crowds, or just stand right in the middle of a massive stadium field. No waiting in lines, no rules whatsoever. It would feel exactly like you've unlocked this secret level of reality where you're the solo player.
But here's where the fantasy hits a massive brick wall called physical reality. You totally expect to just move freely and explore, right? But after a few minutes, you start noticing something really deeply unsettling. There is no sound at all. No voices, no wind, no footsteps except your own. And that silence goes from feeling peaceful to incredibly uncomfortable really fast. So you decide to test this frozen world out. You gently push someone's shoulder. Nothing happens. You push harder. Still nothing. It's literally like trying to move a statue made of solid steel. And why is that? Well, because if time has truly stopped, every single molecule inside that person's body has stopped moving too. Cars, trees, doors, the whole shebang is completely locked in time. Actually, even just opening a frozen door would be physically impossible.
Because here's the thing, the physics of freezing time are incredibly harsh. According to literally everything we know about physics, if time truly stopped, we immediately hit step 1. Atoms stop vibrating. That means chemical reactions completely cease. Then we hit step 2. Light itself stops traveling. Now think about that. If photons aren't moving into your retinas, you're instantly plunged into total pitch-black darkness. And then the absolute most terrifying realization hits you at step 3. You're trying to breathe, but how? If time is frozen, air molecules aren't moving. And without moving air, no oxygen can enter your lungs. No wind, no sound, no light, no breath. The harsh scientific reality here is that you wouldn't survive for even a single second in a truly frozen world. Crazy?
Now, if our story ends right there, well, it's a pretty terrible adventure. So to actually survive this thought experiment, we're going to have to bend the rules a little bit. Enter the moving bubble. This is a hypothetical zone right immediately around your body, where time and physics continue to function completely normally. Just imagine this sort of small aura surrounding you, where air molecules magically unfreeze just in time for you to breathe them in, and light particles move just enough for you to actually see where you're going. Okay, so with this new rule firmly in place, we bypass that whole instant asphyxiation thing, and our journey into the frozen world can actually continue. Armed with your handy moving bubble, the world turns into this breathtaking, planet-sized art gallery. It's stunning. A roaring waterfall becomes a giant, silent glass sculpture. Ocean waves are just frozen in place like these massive, curving walls of water. Smoke coming out of a chimney just hangs completely motionless in the sky. If there happened to be a storm, the lightning would stretch across the clouds like glowing, jagged branches. A soccer ball remains permanently suspended, literally inches before entering the goal. Every dynamic force of nature, every single fleeting moment, has essentially been captured and turned into a permanent real-life photograph. You're wandering through the ultimate museum.
But give it a few hours, and you're gonna get hungry. Which brings us to another massive problem. You find some food, right? But if that food is frozen in time, it's as hard as diamonds. You can't bite it, you can't cook it, you can't even pour yourself a glass of water because the liquid is suspended perfectly in the air.
So we're going to have to introduce one more assumption here to keep you alive, which we'll call the touch rule. This rule basically dictates that anything you physically interact with, like your food or your water, temporarily unfreezes and enters your moving bubble. Without this absolutely crucial rule, you'd literally starve to death while surrounded by perfectly preserved, delicious meals.
All right, survival basics are covered. But soon, this physical survival challenge turns into a deeply emotional one. Over time, you begin this really steep descent into isolation. Look at the timeline. At hour 1, you're experiencing incredible freedom and endless exploration. You are literally on top of the world. But by day 2, that absolute, unbroken silence goes from being a cool novelty to becoming deeply, deeply uncomfortable. And as the weeks bleed into months, by month 6, you're hit with this crushing, complete loneliness. I mean, there's no one to talk to. There's no laughter, no internet updates, no new videos, no sports, no birthdays, nothing. You are walking around among billions of people, yet you are the only one who is truly there.
And that brings us to a really profound realization. The greatest freedom imaginable slowly becomes the ultimate prison. Sure, at first, you'd travel everywhere, you'd walk through famous cities, hit up museums at midnight, climb skyscrapers, and just see places most people only ever dream of seeing. But eventually, you've seen it all, and you realize that we humans simply aren't built to live without connection. Adventures lose absolutely all of their excitement and their meaning when you're the only person alive to experience them. There's literally no one to share your memories with. Your boundless, limitless world has basically become a cage of your own solitude.
Then, suddenly, without any warning at all, time just starts moving again. Bam! The disconnect is terrifying. To the rest of the world, only a single second has passed. Literally nothing happened to them. People just finish their sentences exactly where they left off. That suspended football we talked about finally hits the back of the net. The raindrops splash onto the pavement. But to you, an entire year has passed. Your reality is vastly different now. You've aged, you've lived through this profound isolation and seen things no one else can possibly comprehend. Like, how could you ever even begin to explain this to anyone? To them, the world just blinked. But to you, an entire lifetime of experience has changed you forever.
Which leads us to the true philosophical payoff of this entire thought experiment. Without other people, without movement, without time itself, the world wouldn't feel peaceful. It would feel empty. You know, we spend so much of our lives complaining. We constantly wish life would just slow down. We complain about the drudgery of school, the stress of work, the utter frustration of sitting in traffic, or just having to deal with noisy, chaotic crowds of people. But this scenario reveals something huge. Those very annoyances are actually beautiful necessities. The noise, the movement, the friction of interacting with others, that is the actual pulse of human life. That chaos, it's exactly what makes our existence so deeply meaningful.
And so, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought today. We've explored the incredible highs of ultimate freedom, and of course, the crushing lows of total isolation. We've seen how the very physics of our universe bind us together in the shared progression of time. So, knowing what you know now about the true value of our chaotic, moving, ridiculously noisy world, if you had the absolute power to freeze time for everyone except yourself, would you still use it? Think about that the next time you find yourself stuck in a crowded room,